So I studied a Bachelor of Science in Psychology, and I'll be going on to do my Master's in Business as well in the fall. So I've spent a lot of time here. Seems like I enjoy it here. Um, so to get us started here today, we have Dr. Furey joining us from the Faculty of Education. And before we dive into questions, just a couple of housekeeping items to mention. This session is being recorded, so if you are participating, you're also consenting to that. We'd also like to ask that your mics are muted and your video is turned off. This is just to easily facilitate the session, and it also helps keep the bandwidth low so there's less lagging with our audio and video. So today's focus is the Faculty of Education. We want to keep our questions relative to education. So if you do have any questions, that's what the chat feature is for. Drop the questions there and we will ask them and get them answered. And if you do ask a question and it doesn't get answered during this session, there will also be a follow-up. So let's get started. Dr. Furey, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role within the Faculty of Education?
Yes, I am Associate Dean in academic programs and specifically undergraduate studies within academic programs. And we have several undergraduate education degree programs. We have, for example, the Bachelor of Education, Primary Elementary First Degree. We have Bachelor of Education, Primary Elementary Second Degree, Bachelor of Education, Primary Elementary Second Degree with a French Second Language option, Bachelor of Education Second Degree conjoined with STEM education. We have our intermediates, Bachelor of Education, Intermediate Secondary. We have Bachelor of Education, Intermediate Secondary conjoined with technology. And we also have our Bachelor of Music Education, our Bachelor of Special Education, and we have our post-secondary diploma and post-secondary degree, first and second, and we have a Bachelor of Special Education. So what I do is I support our coordinators, our academic staff, people in ensuring, a delivery of all of these programs and supporting students throughout this process. So it is a successful experience for them. That's my primary role, and faculty too, of course.
It sounds like you're definitely keeping yourself busy with all the different programs offered for students. There's definitely a lot to choose from, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, it's a K-12 school system, right? And post-secondary, that we're preparing our pre-service teachers for.
Right, absolutely. And education is such an important thing, and we are training future teachers who are going to be basically the role models for upcoming generations. So a lot of students are wondering, how should I prepare for my studies in the fall? Do you have any tips or advice for students on that?
Well, how students could begin preparing for the fall. Of course, some basic information is, to make sure that you have, that you have your schedule, in place, and you know what courses and so on. You've checked your schedule, and so you know your commitment to the program for the fall semester. You also need, a designated space. Students, I encourage students to have, a working place that works for them. Some students need to, depending on our learning styles, some students need to work in a quiet area, whereas other students can work with lots of background. And also it doesn't hurt to make sure that the students have their their hardware, their suitable computer and so on. Not that it has to be fancy or anything like that, but to have that kind of equipment, and they can check over their schedule and see what courses that they're taking, and also to look into and inquire about any resources that would be available. I think those are some of the main points. Yep.
Okay, great. And I would also like to remind any students who might be on here right now to drop any questions you have in the chat feature. We are here. Some background noise there. Sorry about that, everyone. I'm not sure where that came from. But yeah, so drop any any questions that you might have in the chat feature below. So another question that we get often from students is, how can students who are learning online connect with each other within your faculty or school? Do you have any advice or tips on that, Dr. Furey? I'm not sure if you're speaking right now, Dr. Furey, but your mic
Yeah,
is muted.
right.
Oh,
I turned it off. Sorry. One of the most effective ways that there are various ways that students can connect with their peers throughout the semester. One of the most effective ways that students are finding is through Google Meet, and we encourage students to take ownership there of how they want to use Google Meet. Google Meet is besides being used in courses, could be used in courses. We're pretty much into though using Brightspace for them, but students can use Google Meet as breakouts for working on assignments. They can use it for planning, for socializing, and they can use Google Meet we're also looking at encouraging our education society and not just the executive, but all the students involved to use Google Meet, to talk about issues and how they're supporting each other and what the faculty can do to support students to have successful, wonderful learning experiences in the education programs.
okay, great. So there's definitely ways for students to interact with each other, get to know each other, even though we won't be in class. So is there any ways that the Faculty of Education is preparing for online learning in the fall? I know that there's a lot of programs that they offer mixed mode or possibly fully online. So the Faculty of Education has quite a lot of experience with online learning, but due to the situation going on, is there anything else that the faculty is doing?
Yes. Of course, CDLI has done a fantastic job in preparing professional resources for our educators. And let me see, within the Faculty of Education, our people in EdTech are providing supports for students. Like Maurice Barry, for example, is offering support for students through webinars, through professional learning sites. He has put together modules about how to utilize Brightspace, how to use WebEx, and as I said, some of the supports are for instructors, but a lot of them are for students. And he has also been working on enabling all of our education students to enter our teaching learning commons through remote delivery. And our teaching learning commons is a great resource location where students, when on campus, it's on the 5th floor, all students know about it. It's a lovely space with all kinds of resources and all kinds of technological supports too. And so what Morris is doing and what he's doing is providing a means and having students register in what he calls the Teaching and Learning Commons, where they can avail of all the resources that would be available if they were on campus taking the courses. And also, there's something else. We have a fantastic group of individuals who work in our education library. Morris is also part of that group, and they have students can just use the email address edlibrary. I'll get the exact email address now in a second, but if they need any resources, the team there will locate the resources. If there are journals or books that the students need, the team there will locate them. Not only will they locate them, they will deliver the resources in a contactless way to the students and arrange for pickup as well. So that's a great resource. So the students are not, are going to be able to continue to utilize the resources of our education library. So those are just some of the initiatives. There are many others though as well.
Okay, great. So there's definitely a lot of support for the students, a lot of ways for them to get help on the academic side, and they don't have to feel like they can't get access to material because it will still all be available to them then.
Yes, that's right. And we will circulate all that information for the students, just like we have in the past, when we moved to remote delivery in March. we're much more prepared now, but we continue to update. It was an ongoing process through the supports provided through CDLI and through supports that the education people, faculty could provide and support staff. We kept updating students as to what was available, you know. So we're going to make sure that the students are aware of all the materials and supports that are available.
Okay, great. We also have a student wondering what platform will classes be hosted on, such as like WebEx, Zoom, Brightspace. Do you have any indication?
Right now, we are committed to using Brightspace. You know, so it's Brightspace for the courses. Students have a Brightspace course shell, etc. But many students, the students have access to Google Meet, and it's not it's a standard edition, I suppose, or copy of Google Meet. But it's Brightspace that we're delivering our courses in.
Okay, and another wondering if courses will be offered in synchronous or asynchronous modes.
That's an excellent question. And just like if you're coming into education, planning on being a teacher, there's no black and white answer. We're very much universal. We try to offer a universally designed education, which is what we model. We're trying to model that for our pre-service teachers, you know, universally designing services and supports and teaching experiences. So having said that, most of the courses are a combination of synchronous and asynchronous. At the undergraduate level, we have endeavored to provide, to schedule times for courses. And there's a reason for that. And that is so that students know that, and they can organize their time so that they know that, you know, the conversations and instruction and so on is going to be happening around this specific time. That providing the schedule like this helps students make efficient use of their time, and they don't have to, you know, be trying to contact the instructor several times, you know, trying to make contact with the instructor and so on, because the instructors are busy as well, teaching many courses and engaging in other responsibilities. And similarly, you know, so it's efficient use of the time by having the scheduling, by having the courses scheduled, and but not to forget though that just like if we were on campus, that students are encouraged, you know, to contact the instructors if they have questions, you know, outside of the class time. So most of the courses that were switched to remote delivery have scheduled time for classes. But that doesn't mean that the instructor is going to have synchronous sessions for the entire duration of the class. It may be a combination, like I said, or they may utilize the full class time, but there has to be flexibility because this is all, you know, this is new to us, and we recognize that students out in the, you know, across the province and elsewhere are dealing with lots of unknowns. And so we schedule the time to be sure, but also we're going to be flexible. But we do want students, all the students, you know, who are registered in science methods course, for example, you know, to be available at that time. So, and I'm not sure now if I've forgotten anything else, but.
No, that was really great information for anyone who's listening or might be watching this in the future as well. So we do have a student who also just asked a question. They're finishing up a Bachelor of Arts at another university, and they're hoping to apply for the fall 2021 intake. So essentially, they would like to know if there's anything supplementary that they need to have ready with their application, since they will be coming from finishing a BA from another school.
Yes. And so what I would advise that student to do is, as soon as possible, email our admissions officer, Roxanne McHugh. I can provide that information afterwards. But and Roxanne will, you know, help the student review their transcripts, see what courses they have completed, and advise them, you know, whether as to whether they need to take another course, or I guess that would be the main concern, probably, if a student is missing a course, because we have to meet the admissions requirements. But sometimes, and not sometimes, quite often, students from other universities, they request consideration, and they don't have to request it, because we know that it's our responsibility to review their courses and make sure that the courses are comparable with the courses that are required for admission into the Faculty of Education at one. So, getting that transcript and making early contact with our admissions office, that's what I would recommend that as key. And the other thing is, it depends on what the students are applying, what programs the students are applying to, because each program has while admission into a lot of the primary, elementary, second degree programs have somewhat similar requirements, but intermediate, secondary requires two teachables, for example, and so students need to make sure that the teachables that they have are the ones that would be accepted, and maybe probably, for example, maybe students can only take two courses, at a 1,000 level, and the other courses have to be at a higher level. I'm not saying that that's specific to a teachable, but I'm using that as an example of why the students should begin as early as possible, planning with our admissions officer, so that if we need to request that courses completed at another university be considered for admission to the Faculty of Education, there'll be plenty of time to do that.
Okay, great. And like, for anyone who's looking for that kind of advice, Roxanne McHugh would be the best contact, right?
Yes, she's our officer in that area. And
Okay, great.
Roxanne loves talking to students. She'll tell you that. She loves.
And Catherine has just put Roxanne's email in the chat as well. So for any students who are looking for Roxanne's email, it is posted down there. So Dr. Furey, how will the pandemic, or how has it impacted any internships for students within education?
Mm-hmm. Yes, internships in education, as you can imagine, have been impacted right across the country. Well, if we're sticking to North America, and elsewhere, of course, as well. But how the internships have been impacted is they haven't. We were lucky in the sense that when the pandemic came, our intermediate secondary students were just finishing up their extended internship, and majority of them had 50+ days out of 60 days. So, and we worked with the Department of Education, who teacher certification. They were so supportive, and accepted the 50 days plus the other experiences that the students had during their short internships, because we begin with short field experiences of 10 days, and then we work up to extended internships of anywhere between 50 and 60 days. So we were lucky this spring. The rest of for the remainder of the winter semester, basically, we don't have the internships in the spring because our schools are out. We serve largely a K-12 population, but we prepare our teachers for K-12, and so the schools were out. But also we serve the post-secondary population as well, individuals interested in teaching at post-secondary colleges and so on. Now, but however, this fall, it's not as easy, because but again, it's in these times of in these very difficult times. This is I guess what I'm trying to say is, what has become so obvious in these difficult times is the support that has occurred between, for example, the university and teacher certification, between the university and NLESD. But we worked on we support that kind of a collaborative relationship even prior to the pandemic, But definitely it came in very handy when we were struck with the pandemic. So in the fall, I started to say, in this coming fall, we were not as lucky. Now, I want to qualify that any students who are in their final year and were slotted for extended internship, like, for example, our primary, elementary, first degree students who are in their final year, we have made arrangements with the school district that those students are going to the schools. There are safety regulations and so on that have to be abided by, and there's collaboration between us right now, the university, myself in particular, and in LESD to find out, how are we when do they want our students to start? Do they want our students to start early because the teachers are beginning early? Is there professional development related to COVID and so on? And the precautions that need to be taken there. And so that's what we're working on finalizing now. But anyway, getting back to my point, the intermediate secondary students, not the intermediate, the primary elementary first degree students who are in their final year, they're going out on the internship and getting their 60 days, hopefully, just like normal. So they were slotted for that in the fall, and they're getting that. Our Bachelor of Music Education is a one-year program, and field experiences begin in the fall. Those students are now. I should clarify something that some students are doing their internships in their they're doing their internships in their own provinces, and the coordinator of field services has been arranging that, and things are finalized there. So we do have some students who won't be in schools in St. John's, for example, or throughout the province. Now there's another point here too. Students don't have to come into St. John's to do their internship, right? They're going to do their internship in their home communities, unless there is a preference that they want to come into St. John's for that reason, but we're not requiring that. So I said the Bachelor of Education, primary, elementary, they were slotted for the extended, not 10 days now. This is extended, like I said, anywhere from 50 to 60, 65 days. So we have a primary, elementary, first degree. We have a Bachelor of Music Ed who will be out in the schools in the fall as well. And we also have our primary, elementary, second degree conjoined with the STEM certificate. So those students require about 27 days field experiences in the fall, and it's been arranged for them to go to designated schools that the coordinator of field services has arranged. Now, some students, though, were slotted to, it was part of their schedule to have 5 days in the school, and it was a wonderful experience because we've moved towards most of our education degree programs have moved towards this, that whole concept of providing the experiences in the classrooms as early as possible in the students in the pre-service teachers programs. So like we had some students in, for example, our intermediate secondary students, our Bachelor of Education intermediate secondary, our Bachelor of Education intermediate secondary conjoined with technology. And we also had our primary, elementary, second degree students who were slotted to have like 10 days in the fall. So what we have done in those cases, working with the school district again, is that we've moved those 10 days into the winter semester so that when pre-service teachers, so that the teachers in some cases in all cases will get the missed short internship experiences. In the case like the intermediate secondary program and the tech ed program, they were slotted for their extended internship in the winter, their 60 days. They're going to get 60 days plus what they missed in the fall. And similarly with our second degree students who are in their final year, they're slotted for 50 days in the winter. Theirs is 50 days plus 10 or 15 days in the fall. So we're just going to piggyback, extend the internship into the winter. And we've been able to have that happen because what we've had to do for the intermediate secondary students, for example, is they usually take institutes at the end of the winter semester. So we've taken those courses and put them into the fall semester and offered many institutes like at the end, towards the end of the fall semester, so that the students will have plenty of time to finish their extended internship and short field experiences in the winter semester. A lot of juggling around, but we're determined to provide the best experiences that we can, for the student, particularly in this area of field experiences. Mm.
Okay, great. So essentially, COVID-19 might be changing us, but it's definitely not stopping us, and students will be able to have that hands-on experience, or whether it's virtual or in the classroom somewhere, wherever they are local to. So we are running a little bit short on time, but I think we have time for maybe just one more question. A lot of students, of course, want to know about scholarships available. So, of course, Memorial has entrance scholarships, but does the Faculty of Education have any specific scholarships that students can apply to?
Oh my goodness, yes. Yes, we have plenty of scholarships. As a matter of fact, you would be surprised how many scholarships at the undergraduate level that we have. And sometimes, again, this was something that we were working on prior to the pandemic. Sometimes students, are not aware of the scholarships that are available, and so we have started to put all the scholarship information about the scholarships together, so that in one place, so that the students could go and access, see what's available, check it out on our website. So I'm hoping that all the scholarships information for undergraduate students, all the scholarship information will be at that one site, because what was happening was we were sending out, probably a reminder about a certain scholarship, and then a couple of weeks later, a reminder about another scholarship, thinking, that students had this time to go in and check. So we're going to try to have a more concerted effort to ensure that all the information about scholarships is in one place, with the deadlines and with the information, the links that students can go to get the information. We don't have any scholarships that would be due like before September the 9th, applications that are due before September the 9th. So
Okay,
I'll
so
make sure, I have to make sure that this happens, because this is important. I've been tied up with courses, but we can't forget about the scholarships, because that's students' livelihood and so on, in many cases. Yeah.
absolutely. So students can still apply to those scholarships. They haven't all been distributed yet, have they?
No. They haven't been all distributed yet. No.
Okay,
And
wonderful.
I'll be able to get updated information on that. And like I said, I'm not aware of any scholarships in education that have been discontinued because of the pandemic.
Okay, great. And I think that's wonderful, because if anything, students need those scholarships more now than ever.
Mhm.
So Dr. Furey, we are out of time here. I want to thank you so much for joining us today and answering questions for students who are
Mhm.
tuning in. Also, I want to remind everybody that we do have these Ask Live sessions every Wednesday and Friday at 2 p.m. Newfoundland time. So tune in this Friday at 2 p.m. It'll be on Student Union Services. And Dr. Fury, I hope you're doing well, taking care of yourself during all these during all of this that's going on, and same with everybody else tuning in and watching. So take care, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day, and we will hopefully see you either virtually or on campus in the future at some point.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.